Alrighty, and we are live. How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM. And this was a whirlwind of a ball game, Game 6 of Mets spring training. They come out with the victory against the Miami Marlins by a final score of 8-4. So I'll be deep diving my raw thoughts, analysis, and going through the innings 1 through 9 on what transpired in this ball game. No, it was not televised. However, you were able to listen either through the radio call for the Marlins, or they did have a stream on the Marlins website through MLB.com. And that's how I watched the game. And I'm sure that's how many others watched the game too. But for everyone here in the live show, thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe. And as always, very happy to get into this discussion as we have a lot to get into. Some big bombs today, headlined by, yes, Ronnie Mauricio. And I'm going to address one comment before we get into it. But besides that, very happy to be in here, guys. And again, make sure to smash those buttons. And of course, I have to let you all know that today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. So make sure you head over to betonline.ag using promo code Bleav at BLEAV. That way you get yourself a 50% off welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the games begin. Now, folks, let's officially let the show begin. I do see that, it's a little bit laggier than I would have liked here in the show. So I'm actually going to try to fix that quick. Bear with me. I'm going to move the moving background. I'm going to go with blue background for this one. And it should help the visuals a little bit there, maybe not be as choppy as what they were. So, okay, first comment that I want to address before we get into the show and before I break down any that transpired. And again, guys, if this is your first time watching, don't hesitate to smash that like and subscribe on. Again, always does mean a lot. But first comment I really want to get into here was from I see Webb's Love in the live stream. And again, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate Hey Jack, all my great members. Grant, how you doing? But he says, I hope Wardy realizes that the best move is to have both Mauricio and Beatty on the opening day roster. And I'm sorry, this might bother you, but this is the realistic point here. There's no chance that is going to happen, and for good reason. Even if Mauricio and Beatty both respectively have phenomenal springs, it's in the worst interest for the Mets to bring them both on the opening day roster when realistically neither of them would be getting consistent starting roles, whether we like it or not. Mauricio is going to be coming off the bench. Beatty would be coming off the bench other than the times that he might be splitting some time with Escobar there at third base. So realistically, it's in the best interest for Mauricio to still start the year in the minor leagues, start the year in AAA, and really see how he does. And if he is raking throughout the year, and if, say, the Mets have continued inconsistencies at the DH position per se, then that is something where you can maybe decide to do a call-up later in the season if he is truly warranted of doing so the way that Beatty was last year, along with Escobar and his injuries. Anything other than that, I just don't foresee that happening at all. Because again, you got to realize these guys still need to develop at the end of the day. As awesome and as exciting as they have been, I'm on full board. I love Mauricio. I love Beatty. I love Alvarez, even though Alvarez hasn't done anything yet this spring. It doesn't change the fact of why we're so hyped up about him, regardless of their recent success. So let's look at the big picture here. The reality is that us as fans will be lucky if we see one of these top prospects start the year in the Mets roster, and Brett Beatty is still probably leading the way in that category, given that he already has had a stint in the bigs, and he will be at a position where, again, he's going to get a lot of reps throughout spring with Eduardo Escobar. They're going to be playing for Team Venezuela, the WBC, and yeah, Mark Vientos, who's quietly been hitting decent so far here in spring, has a couple RBIs, had a nice double today too. So there's definitely plenty of things to like with all these guys for different reasons, but because of this Mets team is still deep as is, we can't sit here and expect even two of our top prospects to start the year on the opening day roster unless there is, say, trades out of nowhere or injuries that inevitably happen throughout the year. So that's the final thing I'll say on that front. But now let's get in the ball game. And again, appreciate everyone chiming in. Continue smashing those buttons. Really does mean a lot. I posted some YouTube shorts array of the big homers that happened today, from Lindor to Alonso to Mauricio. So make sure to check them out if you haven't already. Again, I know a lot of people didn't get a chance to watch this game, so let me deep dive it because I was very happy with the results that we saw. Again, I understand spring training, but it's still exciting as a Mets fan to see not only the veterans rake, which is great before they hit the WBC for their respective countries, and of course the young studs led by Ronnie Mauricio yet again today, which I have plenty more to say on, and a big discussion that we had yesterday for a Bleav in Queens podcast, myself, Anthony Recker, and Joe Sorrell. Make sure to check out the pod. It was live yesterday on the YouTube channel. You can check it out. We'll probably have it so it's available where you can watch it at the end of the video at some point after I'm live here, but check it out or wherever you get your audio podcasts. But The game starts in the first inning. Araz, who was I can't even say his name properly. Jonathan, the second baseman who started second base today, the minor leaguer for the Mets, led off with a single off of Sandy Alcantara, no less. Mets wouldn't do anything there in the first. Tyler McGill makes his lawn away spring debut, and I gotta say, he looked very solid. Nothing to complain there whatsoever. You see a 1-2-3 first inning there for Tyler, and then as we head to the second inning with one out, Tomasino gets his first of 2 base knocks of the day. Sudrola, who's had a couple nice multi-hit games, gets himself on base with a fielder's choice to avoid the double play. A lot of speed heading down there to first. Nothing there happens for the Mets offensively other than that, though. We get to the bottom of the second. Gene Segura, the no Mets killer, gets a base knock, and the even worse Mets killer for the Miami Marlins, and John Birdie gets the first run of the day, an RBI single, and gets to second base and then third base on a wild pitch. So he goes from getting to second base and then third base because of a wild pitch, because of course he does. He's a speed demon. But speaking of speed demons, Timmy LaCastro gets on base with, yes, a hit by pitch. The Mets lead all teams in spring training thus far with 8 hit by pitches to this point. Timmy LaCastro looks great. He gets a stolen bag right after, and Francisco Lindor drives him in with his first home run of spring, ripped to right. An absolute no-doubter from Francisco, the first of many you will see from the star shortstop this year for the Metropolitans. Then we head to the third inning. Tyler McGill's day is done at that point. Again, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 0 strikeouts on 36 pitches. What I liked is, the fastball was averaging 94, 95 miles per hour, nothing crazy with the heat. However, he did have 8% of his arsenal being that curveball today, sitting around, 78 miles per hour. And this is something that he's worked on all offseason long, thanks to Max Scherzer. Because if you don't remember, to start last season, McGill was planning to really work more on his curveball. But you listen to the advice of Scherzer, which is make sure you have your pitch 3 right, which is his changeup, before you can go ahead and start to dabble and really honify and get the best ability out of your curveball. So that's exactly what McGill did. He says, I feel more comfortable than ever with all my other pitches, so now it was really the time for me to hone in on that curveball. He did throughout the entirety of spring training and looked very solid here in his spring debut. So something I just want to make note there. Mad Max definitely helped the young stud and McGill there. So then we get to the third. Brooks Raley comes in, the southpaw reliever for the Mets, who's expected to have quite the impact this year for the veteran. Edwards gets a single. De La Cruz with a double. Chisholm with an RBI single, and a double play ends the inning. So Brooks Raley ends up surrendering 1 run in his 1 inning pitch. Not great, but again, it's spring train, so no one's going to absolutely be a stud or sharp or anything of that nature. Then we head, of course, to the 4th inning, guys. And Abraham Almonte continues to do well this spring as a 4th outfielder type that's expected to start the year in AAA for the Metropolitans. Almonte gets an infield single, which is funny. Nito with a base knock up the middle, second of the day. Sudrola, second time of the day as well, gets a second first base by reaching on fielder's choice. Speed demon down first avoids what was going to happen there, which would have been a double play. Alvarez would have walked. Alvarez had no hits today starting at DH. Again, has yet to even record a hit this spring, if I'm not mistaken. And Timmy LaCastro, really, really, really looking good with a nice 2 RBI double down the third baseline to increase the Mets lead there. Again, LaCastro has looked really sharp so far this spring. And let's keep in mind, this was a Mets team that up until, July, carried Travis Jankowski on this starting roster as basically a pinch runner or can play the corner when need be. I mean, we know that Buck Showalter is usually enamored and likes these type of players. So if Timmy keeps it up throughout spring, I know many people won't love it, but he's definitely a guy that I could see cracking this roster if it's at all possible in that pinch running role. And the only real way I could see that happening is that Darren Ruff doesn't make the roster, right? If he's cut or something. Vientos obviously doesn't make it. So again, I'm fine either way, but Castor's definitely a name to keep an eye on for the remainder of the spring, because he's not only a guy that gets on base at a good clip because he gets hit by pitches all the time. He's not only a speed demon stealing bags, which is going to be a bigger threat than ever now with the amount of times that pitchers can throw to first base, which will only be a couple times. Then you get a large lead, and then if you throw and you don't get him out, then he automatically goes to second. So that's going to heavily favor a guy like LaCastro, and you have the enlarged bags. Those couple inches will make a difference, So there's a lot of things to like about LaCastro, and I hope for his sake that he continues this great spring. Very happy with what I'm seeing from him right now. Either way, LaCastro drives in those 2 runs, and that'll do her that for the inning. We head to the bottom of the 4th. Steven Nagosic, who I'm a big fan of, he looked really, really sharp for the Mets in spurts last year out of the bullpen, one called upon, and he got Sanchez, that beat for Jesus Sanchez for the Marlins, gets a base knock. Stallings Barnes reaches on the fielder's choice. John Birdie with a single. Of course, John Birdie is the biggest Mets nemesis. It feels like imaginable. He's so pesky, and that will be the definition of the Marlins this year. They will be nothing more, nothing less than just really, really pesky, a pain in the you-know-what to play against per usual. But that'll do it for the inning. He gets out of that jam unscathed, gives up 2 hits, a strikeout, no walks, no earned runs, no problem. Then we head to the 5th. Pete Alonso rips an absolute nuke. I shouldn't actually say absolute nuke. It got a lot of air and a lot of hang time. So Alonso didn't even know, as you see from the highlights here, if it was for certain a home run. It was, and that'll be Alonso's 2nd home run of spring. His first was in the first spring game that the Mets had this year. So 2nd bomb of spring there for Big Meat Pete, Pistol Pete, Polar Bear Pete, whatever you want to call him. Either way, I was happy to see that. In the bottom of the 5th, Munkenhern, the southpaw, comes in. Edwards reaches second base off an error from Brett Beatty, a bad throw from 3rd to 1st to get Mark Vientos. But thankfully, Beatty does kind of make up for it with the next play. Gets a really nice out, a one-handed throw deep there in between home and 3rd base, gets to Chuck there to 1st in time, and that was on Brian De La Cruz, who gets an RBI ground now, but thankfully doesn't get there safe at 1st in time with a nice throw from Beatty. So again, had a bad throw, which was the error, then makes up for it a little bit with a nice throw to get the runner out there at 1st on the next play. Then we head to the 6th. Sam Coonrod, another reliever trying to crack this Mets bullpen, has had experience with the Philadelphia Phillies over the past couple of years. Really high velo, some nasty stuff, and he looked absolutely phenomenal today in his 1-2-3 inning there, including 2 strikeouts. Love what I saw there from Sam Coonrod. And that wouldn't be the last guy that I was impressed with from the Mets bullpen today, because right after that, the former Miami Marlin and Jimmy Yacobonis, known for his big horizontal movement on that slider, had a really nice 1-2-3 inning as well with 2 strikeouts. So both him and Coonrod apiece doing their best impressions here again, trying to give their best efforts to crack this Mets bullpen, which will be anything but an easy task with the amount of depth that the Mets have built throughout this past offseason on the reliever front. Anywho, we head to the 8th inning. 2 outs, right? Alex Ramirez, the Mets' top outfield prospect, rips a base knock. And then Michael Perez, the Mets' third or fourth catcher, the guy who had that nice hit or 2 against the Phillies last year. He was brought back again this year, originally from the Pirates organization the year prior. Perez, however, rips an RBI double to drive in another run for the Mets, but that'll do it for the 8th inning, nothing more. We head to the bottom of the 8th, I should say. Josh Walker, veteran southpaw, 28-year-old, got into quite the jam. Barstead gets an RBI sac fly, and Ramirez drops the ball in doing so, which led to the RBI sac fly. And then Beatty turns a double play, thankfully, to end it. But he got in quite the jam there and thankfully got out of it with only surrendering 1 earned run. So Josh Walker, 1 inning pitch in the 8th, 1 earned run, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts on 23 pitches. Got worked, but was able to get out of that jam, at least for the most part. Then we head to the 9th, guys. And this is the thing. Ronnie Mauricio again rips an absolute no-doubter to the right side. His 3rd home run and only 7 at-bats this spring. Now, again, yesterday, my discussion with Recker and Sorallo, they're very much on the Mauricio hype train. Like, they believe that Mauricio has a higher ceiling than Beatty. Now, while I don't agree with that, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that Mauricio is really showing out here. And there is something to be said about the hot start he's not only having this spring, but just to build the makeup that he is. Again, this is a guy that when the Mets first signed him was around $160. Now he's around 220 in the pounds. He's looking at least 6'4", 6'5" out there. He looks absolutely massive. I mean, people are getting flashes of O'Neal Cruz with this guy, which again is far-fetched. Cruz is 6'7". He already has the StatCast era record for the hardest, hit ball. He's a speed demon. He has the hardest throw as well in the StatCast era as an infielder, especially. But again, lots to like with Mauricio, an absolute nuke that he hit. And he's another guy going to take advantage of the opportunities given to him. 3 home runs and 7 at-bats. What is there not to like about Mauricio? Again, he's likely going to start the year in AAA, and that's perfectly fine. But this is a name that I will openly say for the past couple of years, I've written off a little bit, not because the talent wasn't there, but because the Mets have their depth figured out at shortstop with this guy by the name of Francisco Lindor going to play the position for the next upwards of a decade still for the Metropolitans. So We know that Mauricio's future with the Mets can only happen if it's at third base, maybe second base once McNeil's done. But again, Jet Williams is a top prospect that could fill in that position as well too, or maybe in the outfield. Either way, you got to find room for Ronnie Mauricio as long as he is not traded for a big piece, a bigger package this year or in the next couple years. He's definitely a guy that the Mets should continue to work with, because all stars are aligning for Ronnie Mauricio to have far and away his best year in the minor leagues yet, starting this season. So Ronnie, very happy with that performance again. And then Peraza reaches on a throwing error, Vientos with a double, and that'll do her there. Then we head to the bottom of the ninth. Grant Hartwig, another great name for the bullpen and looking out. Again, this is someone where he is a non-roster invite. Started the year in single A with the Mets last season. Went through every single ranking from single A to double A to triple A. Played with 4 separate minor league teams for the Mets last year as a reliever and was a stud every step of the way. And he had himself a beautiful 9th inning, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, and including 1 strikeout. Grant Hartwig, another name to keep an eye on among the vast amount that we are seeing with these relievers trying to compete for this bullpen. But raw reactions, let me know here in the live chat. For people on replay, let me know in the comments down below. Seriously, I mean, Ronnie Mauricio, that feels like the hype right now, right? I mean, and I don't blame you guys for feeling that way. Let me get into my notes for a second, because again, we look at Mets exit velo leaders from Wednesday. I could have looked this up, but shout out Michael Marino, Mets, not Michael Marino, Michael Mayer, Mets Rise, for pointing this out first. Exit velo leaders today were the following. Number 1, Brett Beatty with a 107.4 mile per hour fly out, a little short of the warning track right after Mauricio's home run. Number 2, Mark Vientos, 106.9, nice double with his exit velo there. We see Ronnie Mauricio with his home run, 105.6 mile per hour exit velo. And Alex Ramirez, again, the Mets top outfield prospect, 104.2 mile per hour single. Lots of like. I love the fact that the exit velo leaders. This is when Lindor, Alonso both hit home runs today. Yet the exit velo leaders right there are all the kids. That is awesome. Actually fantastic. I'm so happy that these guys are balling out so far early spring, and I'm excited to see how much of a leash they get here in spring when guys are going to be shipped off in the next week to the WBC. It's really going to be a sight to see, especially for Mauricio, for Beatty, Vientos. Still, again, I give credit where credit's due. The only thing that I haven't liked about Vientos so far this spring is, one, the defense has been fine because he's been playing at first, really not much at third. But the only thing that has griped me so far with Vientos out of the others is that he's had 2 opportunities to drive in runs with bases loaded, was not able to do so. He's gotten a couple RBIs, which is nice. He got the double today, but that was just the one nitpick I have. And again, I'm being too hard on him. I realize that it's spring. It literally means little to nothing. So that's the only thing I will say, because Tim LeCastro, for instance, today with bases loaded, took full advantage and got himself a 2 RBI double. That's what I like to see, and that's what all fans would like to see. But I'm still very happy with Vientos. Again, getting a base knock pretty much every day he's been playing, at least. Ronnie Mauricio feeling like he's hitting a home run every single time he's getting out there. Brett Beatty doing really nice barreling the ball. And again, the defense still needs work. We're aware of that. Not as pure athleticism that you see with Ronnie Mauricio, right? And that was really the big defense that both Joe and Anthony made in our podcast yesterday. And I tend to agree. Like, Ronnie's a guy that I definitely can see really playing anywhere where the Mets put him, and he should be perfectly fine, versus Beatty. Again, Beatty has more of those defensive hiccups, but the bat to ball skills is still in Beatty's wheelhouse. That's why Beatty is the top prospect in all baseball among third base, outside of the guy that they got over there in Baltimore, because he shifted from shortstop to third base now, and Gunnar Henderson, I believe. So aside from that, Beatty, I mean, just the floor, the hit tools is what is going to carry him. He's expected to have the highest floor out of all third base prospects out there right now, especially according to MLB Pipeline. And ceiling, I do think his ceiling is higher than Mauricio. But again, I would love a world where both these guys are on the Mets long term and being effective and being part of this young core group. The next influx of players that the Mets have drafted or signed internationally over the years. You think of the Mauricios, you think of the Beattys, you think of the Alvarezes, you think of the Alex Ramirezes, and draft-wise, the Kevin Paradas, the Jet Williams. Like, if all these guys pan out to a degree, that'll be amazing. Is it likely? No, but it's something that we hope for. And Alvarez, if I didn't say that already. But Lots of like what we're seeing so far. Missy Lindor's homer, it was 110. Oh, okay. So you know what? Maybe Michael just put that out there just to show specifically the kids, but exclude, the vets. That's fine too. Either way, love the exit velo that we're seeing from the kiddos today. That we got to see more of that. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, guys. If you're here chiming in the show, really does mean a lot. Help us get to a couple hundred likes by the end of the live show. Means a lot, guys. And of course, help us get to 25K subs for next short-term goal. And stay tuned. We will be doing post-game coverage. We've been doing it all week, and we will continue to do it all week. We'll be doing it tomorrow for the Braves game, Friday for Max Scherzer, Saturday for Justin Verlander, Sunday for Kodai Senga. Bang, 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 bang. As long as I'm available, we will be doing the games, and that is what we're looking at for the entirety of the week. So post-game coverage every single day, along with the podcast if you haven't checked it out already. But let's see. Hartwig is a live arm. Been addicted to him for a while. Yeah, I've had some of my followers, Carson. I'm trying to. I don't know if it's tracking or if it's Ed Flood. I think it's tracking. A member on my channel has been bringing up Grant Hartwig literally since like the middle of last season, if not earlier than that last season. I mean, I commend everyone that has been going out there that has been following on heavily in the minor leagues. That's something that I plan to be a lot more up to date with this season than I have been in years past. Because again, Grant Hartwig is a diamond in the rough. The guy just entered the Mets organization a year ago or so and played in every single league in the minor leagues last year and was flawless throughout the entire thing. Like, that is quite the story. It reminds me a little bit of even Tyler McGill when he was first brought up. McGill started his 2021 season in Double-A, and he was pitching for the Mets before we knew it in the rotation due to injury, but was effective, was showing a lot of there was a lot of signs. And McGill, again, happy with his performance today. Hopefully we see more productivity and, him working more on his curveball and the velo. Let's see where the velo sits, because velo ended up being an issue with him with his injuries last year. He made his Mets debut by being the opener against the Nationals in D.C., which I was in attendance for that game. No, I wasn't. I'm wrong. I was there for Max Scherzer's Mets debut in DC for that first series last year. But McGill, we saw him pumping 99, a hundo on the gun, like out of nowhere. But then he realizes you don't need to have the most velo. You just got to be effective with your velo, right? And that's where we're going to see more McGill throughout the remainder of spring here. Is the Saturday and Sunday game streamed? That I don't know. I can actually double check for you now, because again, I know a lot of people weren't able to watch today's game, unfortunately. So yeah, just as an FYI, guys, if a game is not televised, usually there's a radio call, and two, depending on the team like the Marlins, if you go on MLB.com, they should have a stream up just from like one camera, angle, so it won't look great. It's not going to be the most entertaining thing to watch, and I don't blame people for not wanting to watch that, especially during spring. Like, you have to be the diehards, which is many of you guys, including myself here, or like myself that covers the Mets for a living. So I need to watch it, regardless on if it's the nicest camera angle or not. But if I go on MLB's schedule, I can tell you right now, Friday, Saturday. You know what? Hold on. Let me go on SNY. Let's see if SNY has either of them broadcasted. Okay, so we are looking at Saturday. Okay, SNY is not covering it Saturday or Sunday, but I'd imagine that they will be televised for the opponents. So Saturday's game is against Miami, so that'll probably be the stream that we had watching today. It'll probably be the same thing, a shitty camera angle. It is what it is. That will likely be the case on Saturday, I bet, for Verlander's debut. Then on Sunday, it's against the Cardinals. You should be able to watch that through the Cardinals feed, hopefully. Yeah, it says Cardinals TV. So if you guys have MLB package, you'll be able to watch that. And if you don't, then try to get a stream somewhere else. But yeah, to keep you guys, up to date on that. Yeah, they are going to test Ronnie's piss, as they should. I mean, the man is absolutely yoked right now. He's crazy. But again, Wardy's top 5 is 1-for-1. Mauricio with the home run, the 2 RBIs, a run scored. Lindor, my number 2 star, 1-for-3 with a home run, 2 RBIs, a run scored. My number 3 star, LeCastro, 1-for-2 with a double, 2 RBIs. Alonso, 1-for-3 with a home run. My number 4 star, and number 5, Michael Perez, 1-for-1 with a double and an RBI. I really want to put Sam Coonrod in there as my number 5, but I couldn't really justify it. And even Tomas Nido, 2-for-3 today. I mean, Jimmy Yacobonis, same outing as Coonrod. The only difference is that Coonrod did it in 8 pitches versus Yacobonis doing it in 15. lots of like from the Mets spring game today. And just to go through it once more for you guys, Jonathan Araz, however you say his name, 1-for-4. Ryan Mauricio, 1-for-1, as we discussed. Gourmet, 0-for-3 today. Brett Beatty, 0-for-2. Lindor, 1-for-3, as we discussed. Peraza, 0-for-2. Pete Alonso, 1-for-3. Mark Vientos, 1-for-2, including that double that we discussed. Almonte, 1-for-3 with a run scored. Tomas Nido, 2-for-3. Ramirez, 1-for-1, as we discussed, including that run scored. 0-for-3 was Cedrola, including a run scored because he got on base twice on fielder's choice. Michael Perez, 1-for-1 with that double. Alvarez, 0-for-2. Hopefully we see a base knock from him soon when he's starting. Kevin Parada, 0-for-1. LeCastro, 1-for-2 that we discussed. And Ruiz, nothing there, just a run scored. So, yeah, that's all the stats. That's all you need to know from today's matchup between the Mets and the Marlins. And again, guys, like I said, stay tuned. We will be live again, more than likely tomorrow against the Braves, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So if you like this kind of consistent Mets content, stay tuned. We're going to be having so much coming out for not only the entirety of spring, but especially the regular season, including, podcasts after every series to recap and then preview the upcoming series, exclusive interviews with people in the Mets organization, people that you guys know of, people in the Mets space as a whole. We'll also be having on special guests throughout the entirety of the season. Hopefully at least once a week during the post-game show, we're planning to have a special guest on. So stay tuned for all that and so much more. But I am going to be getting out of here in a minute, guys, because I do have to run. I'm going to be heading to a hockey game tonight. I'm going to be heading to the Ranger game in Philly against the Flyers. So sorry if that offends anyone. If you're not a Ranger fan, I'm not trying to offend anyone here, but I'm just being honest. Buzz Talk says, hey, Tyler, super excited about the season, but I won't be too quick and making Ronnie a DH. You're right, starting the Myers for the season. Exactly. Again, it's easy to just hop on these waves and say that, oh my goodness gracious, we need this guy in the lineup right away. But it's the start of spring, guys. We're baseball deprived. It's not going to take much to sway us early on. We get that, but trust me, long ways to go this spring, and it's going to be a long season. So rest assured, these guys will get their shot when it is deemed the right time, and the timing is not yet as of now, unless things change throughout spring. So we'll see. Let me see. I've had my eyes on Mauricio since winter, says JNY Sports. Very interesting player from a power bat perspective, for sure. He's really coming into his body now. It's making a difference. Saw Ronnie walking my hotel, says Grant. He's not 6'3", he's at least 6'5". Yeah, he looks 6. He does not look 6'3" at all. He looks like 6'5", 6'6", 6'6", if I'm being honest with you. And the fact that, he's really getting built now, just imagine how much stronger. But the guy's 21. Just imagine what he's going to be a year from now, even the next 2 years. Like, he's just getting started. We know that. But Mauricio officially has more hype and more potential than he's ever had in this Mets organization. Again, the hype train started off hot with Mauricio when the Mets initially signed him, and then dipped off a little bit, I would say, because you have the Alvarez's of the world really starting to build up in the ranks, and Brett Beatty last year. But now it's Mauricio's kind of getting back in that spotlight with the 3 home runs and 7 at-bats, and he deserves it, and I couldn't be happier for him. So, guys, I think that's going to conclude the show. I want to thank you again all so much for watching. If you watch live, make sure to smash those buttons. If you watch on replay, make sure to smash those buttons. But also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What is your biggest takeaway from today's 8-4 win over the Miami Marlins? Mets are back at tomorrow. For the first time this spring, they'll be matching up against their arch rivals in the Atlanta Braves. Biasly, I hope that they have like a full starting lineup on both sides, because I just want to see it be a fun and crazy match. Even in spring, I'm more excited about a Braves spring game than I am a spring game for many other teams, just naturally because of the rivalry. So looking forward to that. Cookie Carrasco will be on the bump tomorrow, so we'll see how he does in his spring debut. But again, guys, thank you all so much for your endless support. And would you really choose Beatty over Mauricio then? Oh, I'm a Beatty lover. I still would choose Beatty right now over Mauricio. Absolutely. But again, that's not to deny the raw power and potential when Mauricio. I would like to make that clear. I like them both a lot, and I hope that there's a way that both of them can be on this Mets roster in the future. Not necessarily saying this season, but in general. I really, really like them both. So that's just how I feel at the moment. And maybe I'll be proven wrong over time, but love them both. Really, really do. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, let's go Mets, baby. I'll talk to you again real soon. Peace out.